On the single-player side of things, 2023 I would consider has been a massive success for Warner Brothers. They launched a major new IP with Hogwarts Legacy for a major franchise, Harry Potter, and it has become one of the best-selling games of the last couple of years. That is a huge success story. That's why many people are looking forward to the future of Hogwarts Legacy with upcoming sequels, although I'm a little bit concerned on Hogwarts Legacy 2, especially after these recent comments coming from Warner Brothers. They pretty much said they're doubling down on live services. David Zaslav, the company's CEO, saying, "Our focus is on transforming our biggest franchises from largely console and PC based with 3-4 year release schedules to include more always-on gameplay through live services, multi-platform, and free-to-play extensions, with a goal to have more players spending more time on more platforms." He continues, "Ultimately, we want to drive engagement and monetization of longer cycles and at higher levels. We are currently under scale and see significant opportunity to generate greater post-purchase revenue." And remember, these are the franchises that Warner Brothers controls. Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, Batman, Mortal Kombat, $1 billion gaming properties. Now, the thing is that Warner Brothers has a lot of developers that are known for single-player experiences. And as we've seen in this industry the last, half decade, single-player developers making that jump to live service has often not gone that well. Especially, we can look to Bethesda with Fallout 76. That eventually ended up being all right, but still a mess in many ways, despite what people say about it. BioWare's Anthem, train wreck on almost every single level. Marvel's Avengers literally just got delisted, and there's a number of other examples that I'm just not thinking of right now, but this game specifically is one that a lot of us have been talking about because we know it's going to be a dumpster fire, but we're going to get to that one in a second because it looks like another highly anticipated Warner Brothers game is going down that same path. This is just literally today. Wonder Woman job listing suggests it may be a live service game. As spotted by WCCF Tech, the new job ad is for a lead software engineer, gameplay at Monolith Productions, and makes it clear that the role will involve working on the Wonder Woman game. Join the Wonder Woman team and help bring an iconic DC superhero to life. One of the qualities in the nice to have section of this job listing refers to live services. Specifically, the listing says applicants may have the edge if they have experience helping maintain a live service product or game. So not really a surprise. I think that we're going to see it on every single game that comes from Warner Brothers in the future is going to have microtransactions. I think the way that Ubisoft has been doing it is something that a lot of these other publishers want to copy. They want those in-game stores, they want those time savers and all that other stuff. But Monolith Productions, remember, the big thing that's probably going to be included in Wonder Woman is the Nemesis system. And last time they went down that road of making it kind of like a live service in which they're monetizing it as best as they could. They went the loot box direction, which was an absolute travesty, a major gaming controversy at the time in 2018 or 2017, and then they eventually did remove it, and as Monolith said at the time, the paid market compromised the game, even if you don't buy anything. So I genuinely have fears with how they're going to monetize Wonder Woman, but we'll see what happens. Now, Rocksteady specifically, the developers behind the award-winning Arkham franchise, they wanted to make a Superman game after the Arkham games were over. That was after Arkham Knight, and they were rejected by Warner Brothers. Very unfortunate, but not that surprising, and we got Suicide Squad instead, and during this development, there has been some major problems behind the scene at Rocksteady. Remember, this game has been in development for 8 to 9 years now, and the co-founders and the studio head left the company towards the end of 2022. I don't care what anybody fucking says. Major leadership like this leaving mid-development, that is a major red flag, and I honestly just don't think they wanted to make this game. And you can see definitely based on the gameplay and everything that has been shown about Suicide Squad, there's DNA that is influenced not by the developers but the executives at the top, Warner Brothers, who wants to have those live service elements there. They want to make as much money post-launch, and it's not like players will be able to avoid any of this as the game has an always online requirement, even if you are in single player. But the problem is none of this is guaranteed, and we've seen other live services like Marvel's Avengers end up in flames. And for what it's worth, as Rocksteady's leadership jumped ship towards the end of 2022, the developer that took over this project as game director was, ironically enough, a former developer at Massive Entertainment who worked on The Division, which just makes perfect sense with the live service elements and all the fucking guns. Now, it all started earlier this year when we started to get an indication that, yeah, this isn't going to be the super villain game that we all wanted. We already knew that, but the leaks revealed that there was going to be a battle pass, there was going to be multiple different currencies in the game, and obviously the screenshot's not here anymore. It has been taken down by Warner Brothers, can't show it, but we've already seen gameplay, and we've already seen some of the menus. This was the first reveal that we had. It was a pretty significant one. They actually showed the UI, the in-game heads-up display. I'll turn off the volume or turn it down a little bit, but it just doesn't. And there you got Boomerang using a shotgun. The one thing I will say about Avengers is that, at the very least, they leaned into the superheroes' powers. In this one, everybody's got a fucking gun, and they all seem to run around and traverse very similar. But this was 8 months ago. But again, the missions, the in-game events, they just look so generic. Everything that we've seen from this industry with these games that want to extend their lifetime for years to come and generate that precious recurrent consumer spending. Okay, I think you kind of get the sense, but this was 8 months ago. The video was heavily disliked, 10,000 dislikes, gravity looking very optional in the game. I think now we know why the top two guys that formed Rocksteady left the studio. The best part of this trailer is the final 40 seconds, which actually focuses on the story and gets emotional. This is actually what I mean. This is the part of not Avengers. Ooh, look at that. I'm already calling it Marvel's Avengers, but this is the part of Suicide Squad that I actually think looks pretty darn good. But the problem is I think a lot of people are going to just pivot to watching the cutscenes on YouTube rather than playing this chore of a game. It's so unfortunate because I think the premise of the game is actually not that bad. And all the story cutscenes and all of everything about the Justice League, and it's just so unfortunate that it's tied to this live service formula. And this is what I mean, the screenshots of the loadout. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger, but yeah, here we have it. Again, it's just everything that we kind of have come to hate with a lot of these experiences. And I like shooters. I like some of this stuff in some games, but every single player RPG having to have this system, it's nauseating to look at, honestly, at this point. And Gotham Knights kind of went down this road as well, and we all know how that ended up. And Captain Boomerang, again, all of his weapon slots are for guns. This is a funny one. And yeah, again, no boomerang in sight in any of this. Don't know why, but again, this just shows that Suicide Squad's not really leaning into their supervillains' powers. Hopefully that isn't something that ends up being, entirely the case when the game launches. But we did get a new reveal. This is, again, 8 months later. This game is launching in early part of 2024. I guess the best thing I can say about it is that the cutscenes still look pretty darn good, but every complaint I've had about it remains. And we did get some information finally in the post-launch. We'll talk about that in a second, but it very much is Marvel's Avengers 2.0. And maybe it'll end up being a little bit better. Maybe the story will be a little bit more interesting, but the gameplay just, the loop does not look interesting at all. It looks boring. It looks disastrous, honestly.
I'm always first on the trigger.
We want their moves to be flamboyant, exaggerated, chaotic.
Let's make like cheap chewing gum and not stick around.
Now, our 4 members of Task Force X find themselves inside Metropolis.
Okay.
At twice the size of Gotham City in Arkham Knight.
I mean, you can tell there's so much love and passion that has been put into Metropolis. That's what I really want to explore this world, but the gameplay just doesn't fit, at least in my opinion. Even with that said, while this new gameplay footage shows off Metropolis looking pretty darn good, the problem is that other open world live services such as Anthem had that going for it as well. It was great to look at, but exploring it, there just wasn't enough to do, and that's another thing that I just question about this new Suicide Squad game, if it's going to deliver on that regard, because so far the only thing I see within this open world is a bunch of arena-like gameplay missions, activities and such. I don't see anything interesting within it, and that was a major problem for Anthem. Fun traversal, but nothing to do within it.
It's big, it's loud, it's a battlefield. It's a place built for verticality, mobility, the unique fusion of enhanced traversal.
And there's a boomerang at least.
And melee weapons, creating a supervillain empowerment that we think is a totally original gameplay experience.
Totally original gameplay experience. I don't know about that. I've seen that in so many games the last couple of years, but we'll continue on. We'll go further down into this gameplay because, look, they show a lot of cutscenes within this footage. It looks good, but...
Assassin like a frickin' jetpack.
Shit. I'd break my damn neck.
You're probably right.
I mean, the concern I have isn't anything really to do with the story. I think the story is going to be at least pretty decent. It's the gameplay side of this. Trying to extend this for how many, I don't know what the vision is for this, but they're going to want this to last for a number of years. I just personally don't see it. But the one thing I will say that I noticed in all of this gameplay, they turned off the UI and did not show any in-game menus. They definitely want to hide that live service side because I honestly think they do not want this to be a live service, but they've been forced into it. And there's no way to just delete that entire system because this is the game. Now, we do get some further information on the characters' backgrounds and how they play. So let's play, we'll go through this really fast.
Or she can use it to quickly close the distance to introduce them to her baseball bat. Swinging from the background lets her circumvent the trooper's shields and flank them. It can also let her catapult herself into the air to shoot the corrupted from above. Now that you've seen some of Harley's combat in this scene, let's explore the rest of the squad's unique playstyles in other encounters. Captain Boomerang uses a mix between sniper rifles, SMGs, and shotguns.
What?
Captain Boomerang uses a mix of, I think he said, shotguns, sniper rifles, and SMGs. Pretty sure he uses a boomerang, but I guess not in this game, or not very often, I suppose.
Kraken.
Each character has an iconic melee attack that can be used to create what we call juggle kills, and also break enemies' shields. Juggling an enemy with a melee attack means they take guaranteed critical hits from all guns for a short period after. Shoot enemies in their legs, and then close the distance to do a shield harvesting strike to get some shield back. Let's shift focus to King Shark.
Cause to celebrate.
I mean, the one thing I can say, versus 8 months ago, the footage, definitely, the gameplay, it looks sharper. It does look better. They definitely are trying to hide certain things. Maybe they'll show them in the coming weeks and months, but it looks better, but it still just looks like something that's going to be extremely meh. And I guess that's kind of the problem with this. We've been waiting 8 to 9 years for a new Rocksteady game, and this is what we're getting.
King Shark is literally death from above, which he gladly shows with his Atlantean drop attack. He's the character that can take the most punishment. Heavy weapons, assault rifles and shotguns, and his trusted cleavers, sickles, and combat knives for some brawling action. For the bigger enemies, each character gets a super powerful single target attack, the Suicide Strike. This one-shots any enemy hit, but it takes longer to recharge.
And again, I just find it hilarious how each of these supervillains all make use of all guns, pretty much. That was the one thing I liked about Marvel's Avengers, was that it at least leaned into the hero's powers, and those were the upgrades that you would find and stuff. But in this one, it's all, they make use of different types of weapons, or different types of guns, I suppose. I genuinely would love to know how that's going to work post-launch.
So it's important to use it tactically. Finally, Deadshot.
See, you're low caliber, and I'm high caliber.
His traversal is made to let him create his own vantage points. This works great with his weapon loadout of sniper rifles, assault rifles, and pistols. For more close action, Deadshot relies on his iconic wrist cannons. One thing we really wanted to bring into this game was a reimagined version of the Arkham counter system, and mix that with our traversal and shooter gameplay. Introducing Counter Shot. Each enemy has a different reaction to the counter shot. Some will be stunned, some will take damage, some will be interrupted and then get really annoyed.
One thing that they're not showing any of this footage, it just seems to be like random encounters that you have throughout Metropolis. We're not actually seeing any missions or boss fights. That's my big curiosity, because within that older footage, you could see certain missions happening, destroy the cannon, and it looks so generic. It reminded me of Marvel's Avengers, in which we had a lot of repetitive missions, and it just ended up being a chore to do some of this stuff. And based on some of the leaks that we have had, I talked about this again earlier, this specific leak, the image I can't show you, it literally looked like the same UI that Marvel's Avengers had. And I don't think it has been changed. You can't do that in 8 months. They've probably just been polishing this up, and it does look slightly better, but it's still all of the major red flags I have remain here. Shoot the shiny purple object still is all over this new footage. And again, we have gotten the pre-order details. This is the stuff that they're not saying out loud, but it's definitely, we can see it here. You get 3 Black Mask Notorious weapons if you buy the deluxe edition, 72 hours early access, and yes, a battle pass token. That is confirmed. We don't know what's in it. The only thing we have are some of these minor details here. There's a nose shade color swatches, not sure what that means. You get squad golds, weapon dolls. You get Justice League outfits and a Rogue outfit for the PS5 digital only, and then some other classic outfits. So nothing too extraordinary, but definitely very interesting, some of this, the loot side of it, and also the battle pass. Now, Paul Tassi tweeted this out, but these are the features that are within it. This is the confirmation of the post-launch, which sounds identical to Marvel's Avengers. You pre-order and get classic outfits. This is pretty much what I just mentioned. Open world exploration, drop into an expansive and dynamic open world metropolis ravaged by Brainiac's invasion and terrorized by the heroes who once protected it. That's interesting. The story side of it is interesting. A unique gameplay experience. Not getting that from the footage we've seen. Experience gameplay that brings together a unique fusion of enhanced traversal, gunplay, and melee combat, combining free-roaming exploration and combat verticality for an unforgettable experience. Sure. Immersive DC story campaign. We've heard about that. We'll just continuously evolving Metropolis. This is their plans. Post-launch players can expect a continuously evolving Metropolis with free new playable villains, environments, weapons, in-game events, and more, all included with the purchase of the base game. And we'll see how that works long-term with that. It didn't work for Marvel's Avengers, and say what you will about it, but that launch still had a lot of people that liked the story campaign. They liked Miss Marvel. She was the heart of it, and I thought it was all right. It was really the live service side, the missions that hurt it, and everything. My biggest complaints about Marvel's Avengers, I see it here, and I get it. Some people are like, look, the story campaign, that may be worth it, and maybe the missions will end up being very enjoyable, and hey, maybe that will be the case, but we have not seen any of that. We're only about 3 months away from the game launching. That is deeply concerning to me, but there is still time, I suppose. Right now, I do think that this looks like another live service disaster. I've been saying it for months, and every red flag that I have about this game is here, and we'll see what ends up happening with Suicide Squad. I am very unimpressed by everything I've seen about this game, and I'm very disappointed because I feel like Rocksteady, after 8 years, they should be working on something that really is going to blow away this gaming industry. I mean, we just had Spider-Man 2 launch, and say what you will about it, it was another good superhero game from Insomniac. I wanted that from Rocksteady once again, maybe with a new superhero at the heart of it. Could have been Superman, but I guess Warner Brothers passed on that opportunity for the Suicide Squad because it was the popular thing at the time. To be fair, maybe this is a controversial take, but I do think the Suicide Squad is vastly overrated with how often it has appeared in media and such. But what do you guys make of this new gameplay reveal right now? 1.5 thousand dislikes, a lot of people very unhappy, but it does seem like a lot of the compliments is for the single player side of this. As a big fan of Rocksteady, the last thing I want is for one of their games to fail, but man, am I not sure about this, and I think that's how I feel about this, honestly. But hey, look, there is a lot here that is good, and it is the single player side. The unfortunate part of it is that it's going to be hard to recommend to people if this gameplay ends up being as generic and boring as it looks. A lot of people may just be going to YouTube to watch these cutscenes in a movie, and that's an ouchie in my opinion. Not a very good thing to say. But yeah, what do you guys make of this footage? Do you think it looks as bad as I personally feel about it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, or if you found any informative value, and consider subscribing for more videos like this. I'll see you later.